Thank you. I'm Elizabeth. I'll continue to flail for the next 45 minutes. This is the first time I'm doing this talk, so welcome. We are going on this journey together. I'm glad you're here. You're gonna watch me do some testing today. I'll describe what I'm doing. If that sounds boring to you, the doors are still open. You could go find something else. Just, go outside. It's a lovely day. No problem. This will be recorded. You can watch it later. I'm going to tell you a bit about myself, though, to start. I work at a Dutch company. My title is Quality Lead. I am in charge of quality for this company. Terrifying. I work across the 60 teams in our research and development department, and I get to worry about how things are for all of them and whether they are good or not. As Lissy said, I think Lissy described it better in her talk this morning, that she's a generalist and an exploratory tester, and I identify the same way. Exploratory testing is when you're doing testing and also thinking about what you're doing and whether it matters. Oh, I added a thing earlier, but it's not here. Great job. Wi-Fi in this place. I have a blog on the internet. It is myname.com, and I co-facilitate an online open space called the Friends of Good Software, FrogsConf. And the other thing I was going to add was my Mastodon handle, but you're just going to have to Google it. It's my name. You'll find it. That is how I am social on the internet. The tool that I'm using today is Workflowy, so I may go in and out of the bullet points like I just did and zoom in. I may also sort of collapse and uncollapse. So hopefully that will aid in your comprehension. It also is a metaphor for what we're doing today. So indeed, I will be testing. You will watch me test. To make that a little less boring, and so you know what to look out for and what I'm thinking about while I'm doing that, I want you to look out for 3 things. First one is oracles. An oracle is how you know whether something is a feature or a bug. If you look at a piece of software and you have this ugh, yuck reaction, an oracle is how you then write the Slack message to your developer to say, hey, I expected this thing, but this is what actually happened. The thing you expected is the oracle, and it allows you to separate what you are feeling from what is happening in front of you. Naming the expectation the thing is not meeting really helps in getting your expectations met, it turns out. Unspoken expectations cannot be met. I also want you to look out, while we're going into the testing portion, heuristics. Heuristics are rules of thumb. Testers love lists of stuff. So often when you talk to a tester about heuristics, it's a list of stuff. And the reason the testers like lists of stuff is because other testers have tested stuff before and thought about stuff, and often they've identified stuff that is worth remembering and worth doing again. And so looking at a list of stuff that someone else has made in the past, or that you yourself have made or made with your team, can help you feel like you've looked at the right stuff. Heuristics can also be places to make decisions to decide whether you are going to go deeper in your testing and continue down the rabbit hole that you've dove into, some past tense, or to decide to go broader and to change the direction that you're going and cover more of the product but less deeply. Alex Schlotterbeck describes, she coined the term microheuristics, and that you might see more of that today. Microheuristic is just the moment in time when you're exploratory testing, when you decide to go in a different direction and how you decide that. The last thing I want you to keep an eye out for are charters. That is where you're going. That's what you've decided, the place that you want to go and that you've decided to go, that you've been assigned or that you've assigned yourself. The thing that you are looking for, I think of it as a mission that you've chosen to accept, or a direction that your testing is going towards. Elizabeth Hendrickson wrote the still seminal book on exploratory testing. It is called Explore It! And she describes a charter as having 3 pieces: the target, which is where you are exploring; the resources, so what or how you're doing that; and the information, so that is what you are trying to discover, assuming you are not thwarted along the way, which, as a bug magnet, I often am. I seem to attract bugs. Great for my job, terrible for life. So, we're going to test in a hypothetical situation today that I made up a month before. It was very similar to a real situation that I encountered at work. So I apologize to the control center team. It's not about you, or it wasn't originally. If this, yes, these characters in software is fictional, or not a live product that my company builds anyway. So imagine a situation. There's a team, and they used to have a person they called a tester. The company where I work, that is a specialty that we have. I recognize that testing as a skill can be present in many people to varying degrees. We tend to have people that we hire to be specialists because we see the degrees are smaller in some of the people that we have hired in the past. So on this particular team, they had a person who was a tester. They just quit. The team came to me and said, Elizabeth, we have this product. We have these tests for it. All the tests are green, but we're not, like, they're all passing, but we're just not sure how good they are, if they're answering any questions for us. We didn't get a lot of feedback about the product from our tester. And so we want you to look at the tests. So like, this is what, in the afternoon someday. So like, take a look at the tests before our stand-up tomorrow. Come to the stand-up tomorrow. Like, tell us what's up, what you found so far. Right, so relatively small scope. The thing that they said they would give me was access to the repo. What they actually gave me was the access to the repository where the tests were present, which turned out to be a different repository than where the code was present. So then I asked for access to that. And then I looked at we're going to switch back and forth between programs here. So here I'm in PyCharm. This is where I have the test repo open. And I took a quick look at the README, and it said somewhere here, that there were also API specs that they neglected to mention. Luckily, because I had access to the code, it turned out I had access to the API specs too, so I've got those open here. Great. So what else? Yes, those are the three things. So, now we go to the part where there are no notes, where I'm going to write them as I go. This is live. Buckle up. So the first thing we're going to look at is, does the code, lovely. Well, we're just going to leave that up there then. Okay, does the code run locally? Perhaps I'll take a second and see if I can connect to the Wi-Fi so that we don't all have to stare at that. What's the password? NewCrafts Security. NewCap, thank you. NewCap Security. Go team. Should have thought of this. We're doing it now. Thank you. Okay. So I have access to the application. Our first question, our charter for right now is, does the code, charter, does the code run locally? So I'm going to open this thing that my company builds. We won't dive too much into the fact that this is a low-code platform, but let's see. So we're going to, I pushed this play button a few minutes ago so that you wouldn't all have to watch the spinner spin, but we can see, because the View App, I've used this platform before, the View App button is available, so that means that indeed, it's already open. That the code is running, right? Like, the application compiled, I didn't get any errors, the thing is visible on the front end, I see that I have an application here. Apparently it's a bookshelf app. The bookshelf app provides an API to CRUD on your bookshelf. Think of it like Goodreads or the Story Graph. As an avid reader and a person with who reads more than her brain could possibly store in the number of books that she reads and the authors of all of them and stuff, I use the Story Graph to keep track of what I've read and what I want to read. So I would expect a thing like that to indeed have some of these fields. Let's see, you may need to refresh the page to see your most recent changes here. That sucks. Wonder what that's about. How can I put that politely to a team member? Why refresh? And then, indeed, we started with, does the code run locally? But we don't know, and probably aren't going to have time today to dig into, does it run on the cloud? But I do want to talk to the team about, like, I was expecting, if a thing is really like Goodreads or the Storygraph, where you can also see what your friends are reading, it's not just for you to run on your own machine locally. Yeah, I would expect it to be sort of more of a social network, or indeed for any new books that have been published more recently to be updated there. So yeah, I wonder like what this product is and how it's going to be used exactly. I guess we'll talk to the team about that at the stand-up tomorrow. And then let's see, at least the code ran, but now I'm seeing, so this is the domain model of this thing. Can I scroll this way? No. Maybe if I close this. Okay, yeah, domain model of the books thing. And I can see here that we've got some fields, but let's see, we've got some string limits that seem relatively arbitrary. I'm not sure that sort of every book title in the world is necessarily under 500 characters, or if that's the same about subtitle. I could definitely imagine an author's name having more letters than that. Yeah, I'm wondering if there's some list of publishers we should be pulling from. I don't know why the default year is 1900. Looks like, I wonder if any, it doesn't look like any of these things are required either. So I think rather than filing 17 different bugs to say that what is happening with the domain model here, I think what I might want to do is ask what are in the domain model, what are the defaults, what are the required fields, and was there something else? Let's see. Oh yeah, are there any like validation rules? What data would be rejected if we had something that we didn't want in there? Because if we're going to have a thing that's a list of books, I would expect at least every book to have a title. Maybe we should see if we can add a book without a title. What happens if I just put none of the data in here? Of course, this is the first thing a tester tries, right? It's like just nothing in here. It's, oh no. Okay, so yeah, I was maybe I shouldn't have, but I was expecting to at least get some error message that this wasn't accepted and it wouldn't be saved. But I was able to save a completely empty book here, so I'm a little confused about whether that's just a notebook on my shelf, right? Am I having a complete catalog of everything on my physical bookshelf? If this is let me see if I can drag this open. Yeah, okay. Delicate Edible Birds. Can I add the same book twice? Would have been smarter to just copy and paste this. Okay. Delicate Edible Birds. Can I have... oh, yeah. Okay, so I can also have 2 copies of the same book, which indeed I might have on a physical bookshelf, but is that a thing that I want? So, okay. So what do I want to ask the team about this? How does the software correspond to the world? Something like that. Right, so the things I wasn't expecting were completely empty book and 2 of the same book. Okay. I'm also realizing that if I come and just have a list of a million questions for the team, that they might not want to continue to hear from me. So I'm going to find at least one good thing that I can tell them. And that was that, indeed, the code ran locally. Code ran. Yes, I did a thing. I got far enough. Oh, and I had access to all the code, access to specs and code and tests. Amazing, great. I got far enough so that I could do some more work for the team and sort of answer the question that they wanted me to oh yeah, wait. So let's go back to that. What question they wanted me to, what did they want? Look at the tests. Have I done that yet? No. Okay, so let's go to PyCharm. And okay, I've got the README open. It says the tests are in some other repo. Here's how to run the tests. Moment of truth. Yeah, okay. Whew. Great. Okay, so all 13 tests pass. Apparently there are 13 tests, and we've got a couple of files of happy paths and unhappy paths. Having done this a bunch of times, I'm going to run the tests again because I see a lot of situations where you can only run the test once and then something starts failing. No, they passed multiple times. So that too is good. But now I am on a different charter. So let's see. Okay, we're in what we explored. We want to go out one more level. We're on a different charter. And what we're looking at now is look at the tests. Actually, that's not what we were doing. We were running the tests. Okay. And so the tests passed, and they test more than once. Great. Should probably tell them that. That is good. Yes. Okay. Let's see. What else? Oh, yeah. So let's look at the first test here. We've got a thing that gets all the books. I'm realizing, though, that we had the API specs, and I'm assuming that this get all the books corresponds to a thing in the API. So let's look. That's probably this one. Get books. Oh boy. Okay, so having read some API specs before, and hopefully you're also familiar with, old school Swagger, new school open API spec format. I was expecting some English or, human language description here of what this action is supposed to do. I personally would also prefer JSON, but oh no. Okay, so this also, I was expecting there's to be some examples here of a thing that's actually, I really highly doubt that there's both a book by an author and they're both called string. That seems pretty unlikely. I'm guessing that these are just kind of the default fields that have been pulled in from somewhere. So what else do I want to say about the team? Because now we got distracted again. We're looking at the API specs and we're noticing that there are no, let's see, not no examples, but what's a more polite way to say these API specs are garbage? Oh, do we know that they're garbage? So that we just looked at one call. Is there anything good about them? Can we try it out? Can we do a thing? Ooh, yeah, it looks like it got a book here. Okay. Well, that's better than I thought it might be. Let's see. But yeah, it looks like there aren't other descriptions or examples here. So a good thing, let's go back like this. A good thing was that we could try it out. Worked, yes. But we're missing, or we expected anyway, some examples and some descriptions. That would have been a little bit better. I wonder if maybe they're hosted somewhere else, if I'm just looking at something that was auto-generated and some human has written the good version that they secretly forgot to give me access to. Again, that would be better than them not existing. But yeah, maybe they're hosted somewhere else? Question mark? Great. Yeah, I'm also, let's see. So we ran these tests. We were able to just click that try it out. And then I didn't actually have to have an API key or anything. I feel like there's usually the security button here on these specs where you could provide the token or I'm getting some smiles, the username or password. Like maybe there's something, did the tests have that set up at all? I'm wondering. It looks like this test is just pulling in what we've called the REST endpoint, the JSON headers in the setup book. Is it somehow in the headers? It's not. I'm now in the conf test file. So for PyTest, that's where the setup and teardown would probably be. Yeah, don't see any security here. So now I'm like, gosh, is there security on this API? Security. There we go. Yes. And I'm wondering, that also makes me wonder, right, like where is this in the product lifecycle? Because if it's just in a situation where our product owner is showing it internally on their machine, right, like maybe they're even doing full screen and you can't see the URL, you can't see that it's running locally, that's enough to get feedback about the product, and this is the state that the project is in, might be fine. But if I go into stand up tomorrow and they're like, oh no, it's live on production, anyone can just DDoS us, I'm gonna be like, oh dear, okay. This was something that was not tested for. Amazing. it also makes me want to then go look at some secret lists of stuff that I like. So we're going to open all my lists of stuff I like about REST APIs. And you've probably seen something like this before, of just the status codes. The one I'm looking for, though, is about, let's see, the poised heuristics. Is it this? Yes. Okay, so Amber Race did a course through the Test Automation University where she taught people how to test REST APIs. And so I'm just going to look. Can I zoom out one so we can see all of it? Yeah. So this is her poised heuristic, POISEOD. And I looked at security and that there isn't any. We looked at output, not really. Okay, so we ran one test, and let's see what this did. This called the REST endpoint. Can we click through? Yeah. So that was indeed my locally running one. And let's see. Oh, I typed a letter, so it's angry. Great. And it pulled in the JSON headers, which was just that we send JSON and then we want JSON. Okay. And then we're setting up some books, and I'm not seeing this get called in the body of the test. So this must be executed first. So the thing that's happening here is that we have a list of no book numbers, and then we post just the House of Leaves book, spooky, and then we dump that into JSON to post it, and we assert that that is successful and that it creates a thing, right? That's 201. Let's go back here, make sure I'm not mixing up my 200s. Yeah, created. Great. And then we're going to add that or append the number that we get back from that response to the list. And then it looks like we do that all a second time for seemingly no reason. I wonder what the reason is. Oh, but the good news is here that I have gone to a different charter, which is actually doing the thing they asked me to, which is look at the tests. So we're looking at the first test. Get all the books. And we noticed that the setup has extra. Oh yeah, we got to ask them about this. We can also, I guess, change it, but then we have to figure out, okay, wait, the setup has 2 books. Why? Like what would happen if I just deleted this? Would the test still pass? We could run just that test and find out. Let's see, we're going to do happy paths. Oops, I hit enter too fast. I know we're running them all, but what I wanted to do was just run this one. Let's try that. Ooh, they're failing. It's angry. Why? 209. Setup index out of range. Ooh. Well, I guess it did matter, but we don't know why yet. Oh, extreme. So let's see. What can we add an empty book here? Would this still be angry? Oh, this is going to run them all, but that'll probably still. This passes. But if I delete this, it's angry. What is happening? I broke it. That's my whole job. Yeah. Oh, now 3 of them are failing. Yes. Okay. So the setup had some magic, and we don't know why. But then when we remove them, moving it fails. 3 tests. Okay. Great. What else do we want to look at? Yeah. We covered all of that. Okay. Oh. And we're low on time already? Could that be? I wonder if there's something else that's worth. Oh, yeah, we haven't actually looked at the whole test yet. I just looked at the setup of the test. But yeah, let's see. So we removed that second book. And then once we have the books set up, we go and get all the books. That's the thing that it's supposed to do. Great. And then we have the list of all the books, or list. That's not really a great name because it's not all the books. It's just the ID numbers of the books that we saw from this. But okay, fine. Oh no, I guess that's the setup. The all books would hopefully be some JSON response. Let's see if we can get that. No, we don't want to get one book. We got to then change the config to do that. Let's see if we can get all books. And then, yeah. Okay. Gonna just debug that. I had been running this stuff in my terminal so I could keyboard shortcut back and forth to it because I hate having to collapse and uncollapse this thing at the bottom of PyCharm. This passed. Okay, well, we didn't see the JSON response though. So yeah, I wonder what kind of logging we want on these tests, or if there's any observability on those somewhere. Like, are we sending that information to, like, if any of these tests fail locally, does anyone else know? Is this just a secret that only I have now? Interesting. Let's see, logging on the tests. I'm also realizing, yeah, I think the reason, what did we want to do here today? We wanted to look, oh, no, too far. They wanted me to look at the tests, and I really only looked at one test, but then let's see, stand-up is coming up pretty soon tomorrow, so I've got to look at all the other tests. Maybe there's at least some time to read this one. Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't finish reading this one. Okay. So we get all the books, we get 200, we make sure that the length of the list of all of the books is greater than or equal to 2, which indeed, if I had set up 2 books, it still would be. That's probably at least part of the reason this is angry. We didn't actually read the output from the thing, so we could certainly go and do that given more time. Let's see. Yes, where can we do that? We want to take a note that we could do another charter that we didn't explore to look at the failing tests. Great. And then for each of these books, we're going to try to append the title unless indeed there was a key error because the thing didn't have a title. So the tester in the past knew that it was okay to not have a title on a book. That was like secret tribal knowledge that I did not obtain until I was reading this and trying it out. Okay. And then we go and assert just the first of the 2 books, the House of Leaves book, if that's in the list of titles. Okay, also mysterious, and I don't know why this is the only book title that matters, why we're only asserting on the titles of the books. Like, this makes me question sort of what all the other tests look like, so maybe we can spend just a minute scrolling through some of these other tests. Let's see. Get 1 book, add 1 book, update 1 book. Yeah, these, oh, to do, check the current name of the book. Okay, so there's definitely something missing there. These other titles at least correspond to the names of the tests, so that's a start. Let's see, can't get a book where the ID number doesn't exist, should not be a special character, but then the thing that they try, I would normally expect to just return everything or do a search. Ooh, a commented out test. Well, that's always going to pass. That's not going to fail anything. I wonder if that fails when I uncomment it out. Let's see. Ooh, pass. I think that test passed. What do you think? Yeah, it looks like perhaps the next thing that I should be doing is looking at all of the tests, which I still did not have a chance to do. Go look. Next, we're going to go look at the rest of the tests. We're going to read and run them. Great. We've run them a few times, but we'll run them more. So let's see. What have we learned? How have we accomplished everything we needed to? I think we know at least enough to go into stand-up tomorrow. So let's pretend we're going to go do that. Okay, so I'm at stand-up. Somebody calls on me because the stand-up is run by calling on the person's name instead of following the flow of the work. Fine, whatever. Tackle that later. Elizabeth, what did you do yesterday? Okay, so I got access to the code. I got access to the tests. That was great. Thank you so much. I was able to run the code locally, so I was able to explore a little deeper. And I was able to start looking at the tests. I just got as far as looking at the first test. And let me delete this so we can just see the curious ones. And I had a bunch of questions after I looked just at the first test. I had some I found some curious things about the way the domain model was set up in the code. I was wondering who I could talk to about the defaults or the required fields, what kind of validations there might be on the data that you're able to add. And how that might correspond to how people would use the product. I only tried it locally, so I'm wondering if it runs in the cloud or if it's meant to run in the cloud in the future. I also saw there were some things I wasn't expecting in the API specs. I'm wondering if I just had the wrong link there, or if you could send me the like where those are hosted, or if I can write those for you if that's been missing. And then in the setup had indicated, and the way the first test was written, I was able to determine that a title wasn't expected. So that at least corresponded to the domain model, but it looks like there was some other stuff in the tests that there was a test commented out. There was a test that just had no code in it. I'm wondering what other stuff I'm missing. It looks like if the tests need to reflect both what you expect about the product and what you want to really happen in the test, what the test should be testing for, we'll have to go and dig a little bit deeper. And perhaps since there's no person who's a testing expert on the team anymore, it would make sense for me to dive in and maybe pair or work in an ensemble with the team so that we can correct this stuff together rather than it just being magic that only I know in my head again. Yeah, let's see. Was there any good stuff I forgot to tell you about? No, I think that was it. Oh yeah, I tried out the API specs and the try it out button worked, which I wasn't sure it would. So that was all good news. So yes. Okay. Let's go back. The thing that I told you to look out for were oracles and heuristics and charters. And so we looked at some of the charters, and there were a few charters that I didn't get into, or that I didn't go very deep on, or that I decided that maybe it wasn't worth my time. That wasn't the right thing to explore next. But some of the oracles that you did see were that I checked the HTTP status code reference, right? I saw that the 201 response was the right one. I saw that the API specs didn't have any values because I had seen those before. So I was able to just immediately write like the missing security thing, and the fact that the examples were all zeros and string just sort of jumped out to me. The fact that the tests passed was not, for me, an indicator that they were good. It was an indicator that they needed to be read and that perhaps something else could be wrong, especially because of the way that the team came to me to ask what was happening and whether the tests were good. I think that was a good reason enough to perhaps wonder what was happening there. And then let's see, we didn't pull up this oracle, this particular heuristic, but we did think about whether we could have two physical copies of the same book, how the comparable products might work, and really what was the purpose of the software. Would it be run in the cloud? Let's see if I used all the heuristics I meant to. Oh yeah, we did look at the poised heuristic for testing REST APIs. We just looked at a few of those bullet points. We certainly didn't think about who was calling this API, how might they expect to use it, whether a bunch of people would be calling it at the same time, that kind of thing. We did try, just a couple of empty fields, but we certainly didn't experiment with the limits on the length of the string, or deciding if those were the right fields for a particular book. We actually didn't see, we had a couple of tests fail, but we didn't see any errors in the application, which we might have wanted, given some of the things that I tried. And yeah, we didn't see a large diversity of data, but we also didn't refresh the page. I wonder what's there now. Ooh, ooh. Oh, different things. Intriguing. But the main thing that I did try to do was to see if what was there already worked. I made sure that I read the tests that were there. I tried running the code that was there. I wanted to read the API specs and see if that was the right way to go. I did try those out. I had looked at the README, right? I sort of explored the space that I was given, and indeed I asked the team for more access than I had originally been given. Their plan was to just give me access to the tests and not tell me anything about the application, which is something you can ask for. Did you know? I also decided when a thing wasn't worth my time and not worth diving into more specifics about, right? To see the API specs, gather enough information, glance over some of the tests and say, right, either I'm missing something or more is needed here. Me writing out every single what I would need in the API spec as an example for each of the examples wouldn't be useful if the problem was actually just the API spec link was somewhere else, that I didn't have the link for the right updated link for some reason, right? Looking at, or indeed in the domain model, the limits, the character limits on the different fields. Let's go in like this. If those like 500 or 200 lengths were the wrong ones, let's decide that together with the product owner, or yeah, it's not worth listing each of those into like a separate bug report in Jira. That's not the way to make things happen with most people. Another thing that I used was tools that I already knew how to use. I had looked at this particular tech stack before. I'd used PyCharm, I'd used my terminal. If any of those things were things that I had to install, talk to IT about, or things that I wasn't able to easily switch back and forth between, then all of this probably would have been harder or slower. I also, as a reader of English, read the file top to bottom, right? So the most interesting test to me was actually that one that didn't have any code, or the one that was commented out. If I had started by reading the ones that were either bottom to top, or if I had read the ones that were sort of in the error paths, rather than deciding that I was going to see if the stuff that was there already worked, but starting with the sort of most boring case, then I might have found some of that stuff even sooner and spent my time testing in a slightly different way. Let's see. Oh yeah, so then I want to point you to some of the people I have learned this stuff from and all the stuff that I used. Workflow is probably just the one thing that you are going to ask me about later. That's this tool where I've been taking the notes and using as my slides. If you or someone that you work with is looking to build your skills in testing REST APIs, then I would really recommend Alan Richardson's, he's the evil tester, API challenges. He gets you thinking about what, not just sort of requests and responses, but also the different verbs, the different actions. Oh, there's some better noun for that, right? But like not just using get and put and post, but also the options header, for instance, the options noun, whatever that is. Gosh, I can't think of it. And indeed, just having a wide variety of building those intuitive skills of what to expect from a REST API. Amber Race also, indeed, if the specific skill that you want is for testing REST APIs, then I would point you to her course from the Test Automation University. These are both free. And then let's see, a couple of these things cost money. The books, you should pay for the books. Elizabeth Hendrickson wrote this book called Exploratory. Still the best thing, or one of the best things. Another best thing is Maret's book on contemporary exploratory testing. That combines the work that I think most people think of exploratory testing as, which is manual work, with automation. Right, because as you saw today, it's sort of the combination of the things that helps you uncover deeper information about the product and is more likely to be the space where testers are working today, that you're working with the combination of all of the tools that exist. Nicola Lindgren has just a blog post about how she used a few heuristics. So if you just want another like concrete example of a thing that was tested and how she was thinking about it, that's a good one. And then this is the original heuristic list for exploratory testers. Let's see, we're almost out of time, and I just want to leave you with a couple of parting thoughts, which is how much of this was testing and how much of this was automated. And actually, after the keynote this morning, I think I have a third question for you, which is how much of this would you delegate to an AI tool? That's it. Thank you very much. Oh, are there questions? I guess we could do that. You're also allowed to get up and shuffle and whatever, but if you... Questions? Opinions? Sounds like a no. I guess you're free. Thanks.